Here we are again, second talk today for Markus about the security feature OSI layer 8, 9 and 10. So your stage.
Thank you. Hello everybody. This talk has the subtitle, The Praise of Folly, or A Praise of Folly. I don't know if you're aware of that term. In German it's Lob der Torheit. Anybody knows Erasmus of Rotterdam? Heard of him? Yes, great, I see many hands up. And he had, in 1509, he wrote A Praise of Folly, and he had some wonderful quotes in there that I find today in enterprise IT landscapes all the time again. He called the whole world like a stage with different actors, and you come in and you're waved off the stage if you're telling too much of the truth or if you're telling too much of the obvious. And this inspired me. I loved this book, and this inspired me to put this as a title of my security theater talk that I did several times before. This is a stripped down version, so again, as the other two talks here, also this will be a fast-paced, hopefully not furious, but fast walk through. I've got 30 slides for 20 minutes, so that will be fine. Richard Feynman is also somebody that all of you know, and but I don't know if you've ever heard of cargo cult culture. Cargo cult culture. Yeah? Yes, also nodding. Wow, amazing. So cargo cult science is basically the science where we carry around all old assumptions and wrongnesses because we think they are absolutely necessary. And in programming, it's a style of computer programming characterized by the ritual inclusion of code or program structures that serve no real purpose. Security theater, here's the link, a good read. Yeah. And another principle that I'd like you to have in mind when we're talking about this is POLA, P-O-L-A. Interface design and more. It is the principle of least astonishment. You should always provide systems that don't come as a surprise to users or admins or experts. Yeah? So you should always provide systems that are obvious to use. Yeah? Like this here, this representation of an early time Windows firewall. Why is that? Because users will always use your systems in a way that you cannot expect. Yeah? That is very, very hard, but that makes it even more important to think about what are they likely to do, or how can they possibly fail? Yeah? So they will use your systems in a way you cannot expect, actually, or you have to be you have to use a lot of fantasy and, of course, a lot of testing. And testing itself has some of its own quirks. So here we see a bug passing through QA unseen. Yeah? You understand the problem, I think. Here we have another test that went a little bit wrong in this moment, but it worked. No, it didn't go wrong. It worked. It showed that this process is not a good idea. Yeah? Here we have the case of 2 unit tests, but 0 integration tests. I think you get it, yeah? I don't have to explain it here. Here we have the case of integration gone wrong, but a patch was applied. Yeah? So what does that mean for security? We already see here, security is something, it's about testing and more, but it's also about how you feel. Yeah? I was going through Utah. I was going to see some dune landscape, Little Sahara National Park is it called, and it's amazing landscape, it's desert, and I felt perfectly secure, yeah, until I saw that sign. and especially the mechanism for updating the number. So somebody started automizing the process. Yeah? So just think about this. All applies also to your IT and IT security and how you deal with users. Yeah? And that's why I also wanted to do this talk on the topic of security theater from Bruce Schneier. Bruce Schneier coined a term similar, or coined that term, that said you may feel secure, but you aren't. Yeah? And on the other hand, you may feel insecure in situations where you are perfectly safe. He said that in a TED talk that I linked here. A good recommendation to watch. So we are already at that point that feeling safe is often more important than being safe to many people. That goes down to models versus reality versus feelings. Schneier wrote about that. That also leads to new approaches into security. like this one from 1999 in Win Schwartau's famous book, Time-Based Security, where he suggests, for example, it's more important to assess how much time does it take a hacker to get into your system and how much time does it take you to prevent him from or to rebuild the system or do risk assessment and how much damage can be done and convert that into the unit of time. And for that, or for doing assessments, I don't need to tell you, you all know this. For control and transparency, open source has a major impact here. It's absolutely important. There is normally no security without open source, yeah? But not all open source is by nature secure. So we have security and we have models of trust, which is also security by obscurity. For example, when you have an iPhone and you think it's more secure than an Android, then that means just because you trust Apple and its ecosystem more than you do trust Google and Android. But it's trust in that case. It's not necessarily transparency or security. We are again in the realm of feelings. And so there we are at a big problem because our brain grew through evolution. And that is why I have the second book recommendation here, Buddha's Brain, is written by neurologists, psychologists, and a Buddhist philosopher together. Yeah? And they explain why we have such big problems in assessing dangers or risks. It's historical because of the wild animals, the jungle, the savanna, the trees that we come from, and the lizard brain in our head. And they suggest a lot of techniques that are really cool, where how to play with that and how to overcome these limitations. And the next thing is, what is security? Yeah? What is the definition? Here's the Oxford Dictionary offering 4 different explanations of security, from the state of being free from danger or threat. Okay, that's what we all want. But the fourth one is, or the 1.3 is, the state of feeling safe, stable, and free from fear or anxiety. Again, we are in the realm of feeling. Security is a lot about feeling. And that's what I said in 2003, or wrote in a paper, in a training paper that I wrote in 2003. In IT, security is the feeling that the administrator has when he's going home in the evening that he has done everything so that his systems or his company or whatsoever is safe, secure, nothing will crash or whatever. And he has done everything to protect services, machines, and colleagues. However, you know by now that all of these assumptions are a little bit, our emotions, our brain, our lizard brain, and our feelings contradict that or come in here and work against that. So we tend to think that some solutions, because our risk assessment is not very good, we tend to think that some solutions obviously are better than others. Like we right now have, we had the talk about Luca today, we had lots of apps in Germany that failed, like the electric ID cards, the electronic ID, the healthcare system stuff, and most recently the electronic driving license. And I called all of that stuff digital toilet paper. I don't know if Timo is in here. He had to talk about the paperless office. My question would have been, show me your toilet and I'll tell you if your office is paperless. Yeah? But the assumption generally is, and that is the wrong assumption, that is like a bubble, but you can pop it very easily, is just because you digitalize something, it isn't more secure than it was when it was analog. Our German driving license, the little card is 99% not fraudable. Yeah? The electronic driving license on your smartphone is fraudable, much easier. Good. And that is fraudable is the keyword that leads to the next thing. Now there's some examples of concepts still for security theater that are important. TSA luggage keys, you may know them. Yeah? That's the best reason, the whole concept, the whole story is the best reason don't ever use master keys, secret master keys for something. Somebody published a picture, a journalist by accident published a picture, but in the layout department it wasn't blurred, so the picture of the master key for the TSA luggage keys that the American security on the airports and stuff used to open your luggage was published, and everybody who has a 3D printer could print these keys and can open your luggage. That was 2015, I think. So master keys don't work, but people think they're secure when they have locked their suitcase. They just don't know the background. And in companies, the companies have, enterprise IT has installed mechanisms to help against such situations where your security proved to be a bubble. One of them is blameware. I coined that term. Blameware is software that you buy, just in principle, just to cover your ass. Yeah? You buy software from external, or the old saying is somebody who has bought software from IBM hasn't been fired. Yeah? Same applies to Microsoft. Yeah? It doesn't matter that the company, that the employer of that guy will never win a lawsuit against Microsoft or IBM. That doesn't matter. The blame is outside of the company, and he doesn't lose his job. That's here's a little bit more in the definition of blameware. And important is consultants are anthropomorphic emanations of blameware. So now that we have talked about concepts, that was the blog post when I first wrote about that, and that was nice because even the Zeit magazine quoted me on that. So now that we've talked about the background concepts, I want to show you the stage that we are talking about. So I've given this talk to different audiences, but here I don't have to explain the OSI model. I expect that you, since we're at a university, I expect you all to know it by heart. But you may not be aware of the levels 8, 9, and 10 yet. Yeah? So I found this on Wikipedia to my surprise because it was an idea that I had in my head, and then I looked in Wikipedia and I found out, oh, somebody else has already made a graphics out of it. Good. But the user layer is defined in a new way here. So we have the OSI layers 1 to 7 as in classical IT, but we have user layer 8, that's what's sitting in front of the machine. User level 9, or OSI level 9 is what is his organization, so usually the company behind the guy that orders and that defines things, and above that the government. If you're working for Siemens, it's different. Then Siemens is OSI, then the state or the government is OSI layer 9, and Siemens is OSI layer 10. Yeah? So this is the stage for the security theater. If we dive in, more into that, then you'll find the definitions that I just said about. Like layer 9 are all organizations the user is in, management, company, corporations, and stuff. That all is defined by people, and here we are back with the trust. Yeah? And for the non-Germans in the room, these are two persons that have dominated German IT security and security politics quite a bunch. On the left, we have our Secretary of State in Germany, and on the right, we have one of the politicians. He has a reputation of being rather right-wing, and he was head of a secret service here in Germany. So Germans, when they see those people, they're like, oh no, they did a lot. They were those kind of people that had lots of hammers, if you know what I mean, yeah? So everything looked like nails to them. So they passed laws and thought they would solve technical problems with laws. And that is typical for the whole range of security layer. People do try to solve problems that they have with the tools they have. And so it's mostly tool-driven, yeah? And the different actors on stage, they have intentions. As I said, the politicians that we just showed, they want to be re-elected. We just had elections, and and the companies, they want to make more money. Very obvious. The managers, I want you to do what I need for my boss, career or money. Yeah? You have to find out what is more important, but that is the intention of the managers as actors. The users usually are not as bad as I said here, but that's the stereotype. They don't want to change, they don't want no stress, they don't want to learn. And remember POLAR, principle of least astonishment. The IT people, they are like, oh my God, facepalm, blonk, sigh, and the old mantra from the IT crowd, have you tried turning it off and on again? Because they just resign internally. And these are the triangles. We want to have secure, fast, usable systems, and at the same time, they should be secure, fast, or cheap. And all of these, we want secure and fast and usable systems, and we want them to be secure, fast, and cheap. Yeah? And it's obvious that not all of these things are possible. The plots. Yeah? If you have a need, like blameware, yeah, somebody will come and try to sell you something. You know Terry Pratchett again, if there's more people in the same place, somebody will try to sell strange sausages. So there will be people that try to sell you something that doesn't solve your problem, but it makes you feel secure. Yeah? So that's the snake oil aspect, that's the cloud aspect. Also, give us all your data. You don't have to worry anymore. Yeah, and that's also we need more control. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. If you stick with us, you're safe. The FUD thing that you may remember from the 80s, FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, IBM, Microsoft, and all of that is part of the security theater. And remember, again, here's again the bubbles. If that security theater, if that feeling is destroyed, it's very hard to get it back. But the customers will just need new products. Yeah, and normally, if you tell people about it, then they will be chased off the stage, just like Erasmus of Rotterdam said, the messenger. Oh, we have masks, disguises, and costumes. Yeah? We have management. I have there's some, look, if you don't know about what management anti-patterns are, look it up. It's really interesting. YAMFI, is that known to you? That's a problem, that's a solution strategy, very well known in IT. Management patterns. YAMFI is yet another meeting, we'll fix it. Yet another meeting, we'll fix it, YAMFI, yeah? And conference bingo and all that stuff, so bubbling, bursting stuff. Then we had consultants already. The coders also come in because they will create like onion code. Is that a term that you know, onion code? You don't understand the software, so you make a wrapper around it, and the next one comes in, does the same. So in the end, you have like 6 or 7 wrappers around wrappers, and that becomes the onion. Yeah? And things like, the art of complaining is, again, we are on the user level again. And in the management side, we also have those parasitic job descriptions. That's people that are very talented and gifted in the corporate world, playing with all of these stage patterns. Why does that work? Because we want to believe. Look up cognitive bias. You'll find these graphics. These are 180 cognitive biases that we have in our head, where our brain is fooling us. We want to believe. My brain constantly tells me, all of you think like I do and would solve this problem exactly the same way as I do. Yeah? And that I will believe that, my brain will make me believe that still, if 99% of you does not. But it's just, the older part of the brain just wants me to, or pushes me into that direction. That leads to lots of failures. And this is very fast now. We assess, again, the old point, we fail at risk assessment. Yeah? So airport security trays carry more viruses than toilet surfaces. Who would have thought that? Oh, but it's logic. Yeah, I know now, but we don't assess that right. Facial recognition technology, we underestimate threats. Smart TVs at home. Staircases. You're afraid of terrorism? Have you ever looked at how many people are killed by stairs? Huh? We should be afraid of stairs. That's a German cabaret comedian, by the way. Hack back. Did you hear about the South Park Alexa story? Huh? South Park did an episode where they had Alexa, where they called Alexa and Hello Google, but especially Alexa would order stuff for you. So they had terms like, Alexa, order these nylon panties or whatever for them. And at the end of the episode, you had like 10 items in your shopping basket at Amazon. Triggered by the South Park episode. Yeah? Had to unplug it. But I think this is even worse. Some hackers took control of Alexa and played Rick Astley on the Bose speakers. So we think it's safe, our smart home and everything, but as unsafe as our routers are the routers on the ships. This is a map where some hacker took over the internet routers on commercial ships, big ships. And he found out that the GPS signal is done by this router. So he said it would be easy to move the ship 50 meters to the side. That's not a big problem when you're in the middle of the Pacific, but it's a problem in a harbor. Similar things happened with smartwatches, sports trackers. Soldiers in German soldiers in Afghanistan on a secret base, used their sports trackers. Data was uploaded, data was freed, and so somebody could find out the roads inside this secret base. On the top, you have the data from the trackers. On the bottom, you have the OpenStreetMap, Google Maps picture. So, and the same thing with bicycle helmets. I could go on. And the newest thing is Amazon's household robot. And we had this politician in Germany who was very famous with the Grease. He suggested biometry as the ultimate solution, which was just wrong. he provided his fingerprint and said, everybody can have my fingerprint. The Chaos Computer Club made a stamp out of it, and at Linux Magazine we made it a cup so everybody can have his fingerprint to show that biometry is a fail in principle. Yeah? How can you protect in a world when antiviruses bring in the attack vectors? Very hard. AV software won't be the solution as long as Russian hackers can take it over. Yeah? The problems in all of this is, and I'm almost done, is we have evolved into a really, really complex world of software that makes it possible that we can hide a lot of attack vectors and problems in that. If something explodes, yeah, we have more invisible disasters. So already in the 80s, an X-ray machine killed lots and lots of people, yeah? And it was only possible because those guys that ran the machines wouldn't believe it. Yeah? And this reminds lots of people to worse disasters. What can help is making it public, like in lockpicking, disclosure of security flaws and stuff. And I put here, and this is for you to read later, I put a call to action, how we can cope with that. And one of the three things is public money, public code, software liability, exempt OSS, and questions about how we can make open source mandatory, because the politics is going only one way. Yeah, it's a ratchet system that goes harder and harder, stronger and stronger, and we need to take the time to ask these questions whenever you want to cope with the security theater system. Yeah? So main question is, against what do you want to protect yourself? Because, for example, you'll need a secret service if you want to protect yourself against the secret service. 3 seconds for questions.
Thank you for your talk. Are there any questions? One question, perhaps?
I think they are completely filled.
Okay, thank you for your talk. And
I'm sorry, it was 2 minutes too long.
Oh, no problem. I think we have the time for it.